Cartoon Hangover, I'm Emily, and this is Cartoon Conspiracy. Usually we're over on Channel Friday, but we're here today for an exclusive episode. But enough about me. Let's get to talking. We all know Adventure Time. It's insanely popular and probably the most out there cartoon on television right now. Following the adventures of a human boy named Finn and his best friend Jake the dog, Adventure Time can be described as anything from science fantasy to surreal humor, and most commonly, post-apocalyptic. It's no wonder why the show has sparked so many conspiracy theories, and I couldn't pick just one. So, here are my top 5 Adventure Time conspiracies. Number 5. Finn is in a coma. Finn is just a regular boy, and his only friend in the world is his dog Jake. Already neglected by his family, after Jake dies, Finn attempts suicide, but instead ends up in a coma. However, in his comatose state, he's able to imagine a world where he can go on adventures with his best friend Jake forever. This is my least favorite conspiracy because, well, first of all, it's super sad, and second of all, it just doesn't fit in that well with the show. Finn doesn't know or remember anything from his past life in the real world because Jake's parents found him abandoned as a baby. So for this conspiracy to make sense, Finn would have to have been in a coma since he was very young. But how would a baby know about nukes, demons, the fourth dimension, Earth's core, comets, Abe Lincoln, vampires? You get the idea. Adventure Time has a very complex plot and deals with some heavy emotions. Stuff that a very little kid probably wouldn't dream up. Number 4. The stories of Adventure Time are actually just Finn and his dad's role-playing game. Jake is really Finn's dad, and the show is actually just a Dungeons & Dragons-like game that he runs to hang out with his son. Jake creates the villains and the challenges to test Finn's moral code and teach him life lessons. In an interview, creator Pendleton Ward said he grew up playing Dungeons & Dragons, and writing Adventure Time feels like he's playing D&D with the characters. And watching the show, you can tell that it's heavily inspired by this role-playing game. For example, the Enchiridion looks pretty similar to the Dungeons & Dragons player handbook. So while the plausibility of this conspiracy in the context of the show's plot is probably unlikely, it's still an adorable idea. Number 3. Adventure Time and the Misadventures of Flapjack are in the same universe. The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack was a show that aired on Cartoon Network until 2010, and it's where Pendleton Ward had one of his first jobs as a writer and a storyboard artist. Flapjack's Docktown, Stormlong Harbor, could have been built after the Mushroom War mentioned in Adventure Time. The events of both shows are happening on the same timeline, which could explain some cracks within the show's side stories. The candied island they saw in Flapjack was actually just Candy Kingdom. Peppermint Larry has been to Candy Kingdom and possibly used Princess Bubblegum as sort of a muse for his candy wife. Honestly, I couldn't find a lot that proved or disproved this conspiracy. It's possible that Penn's work on Flapjack inspired some elements in Adventure Time, and a reason these two shows never collided could be due to Finn's fear of the ocean. But also, Candied Island didn't look too much like Candy Kingdom. So really, this conspiracy isn't necessarily possible or impossible. Number 2. Simon Petrikoff's bedtime stories. The Land of Ooo and the Adventures of Finn and Jake are really just bedtime stories Simon Petrikoff tells to a young Marceline. The format of an Adventure Time episode is similar to that of a children's story, and that they usually involve learning some kind of lesson. Simon creates the character of the powerful vampire queen, along with an alternate reality to build the confidence of a young, orphaned Marceline. In this flashback, we see Simon kissing a young Marceline, and in his backpack, we see several books. Could these be the stories he's telling her? We've also seen the book Ice King writes about Fiona and Cake, so this proves that he is a writer and a storyteller. It's a sweet idea, but if this conspiracy was true and Simon was narrating every single episode of Adventure Time to a young Marceline, why does the Ice King appear so often? And finally, number 1, the conspiracy of the Great Mushroom War. This is by far the most plausible Adventure Time conspiracy. What could be the explanation for all these strange-looking characters and bizarre landscapes, besides the fact that it's a cartoon? Try nuclear radiation. The Great Mushroom War, referenced throughout the series, is actually a nuclear war that caused serious mutation. There are a lot of heavy hints in the show that allude to a great nuclear explosion. So here's everything we know about the Great Mushroom War so far. 1,000 years ago, there was a terrible war, and Simon and Marceline were the only ones left. Simon was saved by the bombs, which Marceline said bathed the land in mutagenic horror by a cursed crown that slowly turned him into the Ice King. After hundreds of years, the Land of Ooo came into existence, But this was only in one universe. In the episodes Finn the Human and Jake the Dog, we see an alternate universe where Simon sacrificed his life to stop the bomb. When Simon died, his crown covered the world in ice. But in this universe, we can see that the Earth is whole, as opposed to Land of Ooze universe where there's a huge chunk missing. So we can assume this is because of a nuclear explosion. We can also see nuclear bombshells at the beginning of the opening credits. This conspiracy is basically true. It's just never been admitted in the show. But nothing gets past us conspirators. Now these were just a few of the many Adventure Time conspiracies. If you have a favorite conspiracy that I didn't cover today, let me know in the comments below. And in the meantime, keep conspirating. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Cartoon Conspiracy. If you like what you saw, be sure to check out my series on Channel Frederator, where every Friday we answer the hard-hitting questions like, are Elsa and Anna related to Tarzan? Is Frankie an imaginary friend? Are all of the Rugrats actually dead? And is Totoro an allegory for murder? You know, happy things. You'll either agree or disagree with my debunkings, but there's only one way to find out, so make sure you check out Channel Frederator.